Hello, I'm Shep Hyken, and here's what's coming up on this episode of Be Amazing or Go Home. Creating customer loyalty. Some businesses have mastered the art of bringing the customer back. How do they do it? We have 5 ways to show you how to get it done. 4 habits of highly ineffective companies. The world-renowned Dr. Benjamin Akande joins us to explain how to avoid bad habits that can cause failure. The Mental Toughness Playbook. Success is not just about changing your habits, and Ben Newman has the answers to get your mind ready for any challenge. And excellence wins. An amazing quote from Ritz-Carlton co-founder Horst, Schulze, who unlocks the secret to becoming the very best. And it's a lot simpler than you think. So, are you ready to be amazing? Stay tuned for all of this and more coming up next on Be Amazing or Go Home. Hello, I'm Shep Hyken, and this is Be Amazing or Go Home, the show dedicated to take you from average to amazing. We begin with the big question that all companies strive to find the answer. How do you create customer loyalty? Now, some companies have earned a reputation that keeps bringing their customers back again and again. Satisfying your customers is important, but it takes much more than that to earn the customer's loyalty, because satisfied customers aren't necessarily loyal customers. And here's why. They're just satisfied. So, with that in mind, here are 5 amazing strategies that you can use to create customer loyalty. Number 1, have a good product. Now, this is a given. The product must do what it's supposed to do. If it doesn't matter how good your customer service is. People need to know they can count on your product, not just your customer support department. Number 2, customer service and support. It's also a given that everyone in your organization will deliver a level of customer service that meets, if not exceeds, your customers' expectations. And if you have a customer support department, you must also offer amazing support. And by the way, being amazing doesn't mean you're delivering over-the-top customer service. It means you're better than average all of the time. Number 3, tell the customer how good you are. Remind the customer that they made the right decision to do business with you, but do it in a way that's not arrogant. What do you do differently than your competition? As long as it's something the customer will appreciate, make sure the customer knows about it. Don't keep your differentiator a secret. Number 4, be employee focused. Focus on creating loyal employees and you'll create loyal customers. What's happening on the inside of the organization will be felt on the outside by the customer. It isn't a coincidence that the best places to work are also recognized as the organizations that deliver the best customer service. And number 5, focus on the next time. Customer loyalty can eventually be about a lifetime, but to make it more attainable, take it one step at a time. Whatever the situation you're in, good or bad, ask yourself what I refer to as the loyalty question, which is, what am I doing right now that will make the customer come back the next time they need whatever it is that we sell? It's not about a lifetime, it's about the next time, every time. You can study sales and statistics all day long, but the one statistic that matters most is, did the customer come back? So get out there and put these ideas into action, and you'll be on your way to creating loyal customers. Many companies are in a state of organizational hospice. Now, that's a quote from Dr. Benjamin Akande, one of the world's most sought-after thought leaders on excellence in leadership. And Dr. Akande's quote shows many companies are just satisfied in their comfort zone and unwilling to take the customer experience to the next level. Here to talk about the habits of highly effective versus highly ineffective companies is the man behind the quote himself, Dr. Benjamin Akande. Welcome to our show.
Shep Hyken, it's good to see you again.
Well, it's great to see you. And you know what? You're now at Washington University, one of the greatest universities on the planet, in St. Louis, Missouri, and you're overseeing a big area of international growth. Tell us real quickly about that.
I am at WashU, been there almost a year now as Assistant Vice Chancellor for International with a focus on Africa. And my charge at WashU is to harness all the great things that are happening at WashU, research, teaching, consultancy, in Africa, and to try to take us to that next level. And so I'm excited to be there, and we're having a good time doing it.
Well, good. So you and I were on a program together over in Nigeria, and I watched you do this speech on the habits of the 4 habits, I believe, of highly ineffective companies. So I take copious notes. I come back. I write an article for Forbes, which I write a weekly column. And this is one of the most popular articles I've written. The number of people that have read this commented, amazing. So that's what I want to talk about today.
Okay.
This is about being amazing or going home. So what is it that companies aren't doing that's keeping them from being amazing? That's what this is about. Tell me the first of the 4 habits of highly ineffective companies.
Well, first of all, organizations that are stuck in that realm are in a state of auspice. Call it organizational auspice. And organizational auspice is when you're really satisfied with status quo.
Yeah, you're basically, you're laying there half dead.
You don't care.
Ready to go.
Everything is fine. You live more about the past than the present. You talk about how great you were 20 years ago, how your financials were spectacular 10 years ago, but you don't really have anything to show in terms of the current situation. But you're okay with that. And so that paralysis in itself creates that sense of auspice.
So it's status quo.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
Nobody wants to sit in status quo. Status quo is no movement either way. Actually, status quo is moving the wrong way.
Yeah, not moving at all. And you know, and the interesting thing, the number one point about highly ineffective organization is the inability to want to change. You know, just sort of content with the reality of the current environment. And change becomes a problem, becomes the enemy in itself. And so organizations that find themselves in that realm are in trouble. Because they look around them, they see new competition, they see some of the old competitors doing different things, but they say, you know what, we're going to keep it the way we've always done it, because that works for us.
What do they say? Well, there's some expressions and quotes, but we won't get into that. Number 2.
Well, they are in a state of denial. And denial,
it's not happening to us.
It's not happening to us. Everything can change around us, but we're going to be fine. And being in a state of denial, Shep, is problematic, because what happens is that you're not checking yourself with competition. You're not going through a reality check in terms of what does the market give us? How is the market changing? How do we need to change our services and our product and be more proactive? So you just, again, you feel everything's okay, and we're going to keep doing it the way we've always done it.
All right, and if you do it the way you've always done it, your competition is going to figure out something new. They're going to innovate. They're going to pass you by. So once again, constantly, you need to be making forward progress. Number 3.
Number 3 is you don't lead. You look to the top, you look around, you look to the boss to lead you. And basically, I characterize that sort of looking to the leadership of the organization to make all the decisions. People are not willing to lead from where they are. They're looking for validation from others.
Are you suggesting like an empowered employee workforce, somebody that you just say, hey, I have this concept we call act like an owner, which means you're not necessarily the owner, but you like what the owner's doing, you believe what the owner's doing, and hopefully the owner has empowered you to take issue and action with customers to make sure that their experience is great.
But in this particular case, there has not been any empowerment, and what you have
that's the problem.
That's the problem. And so the organization, the people in the organization are looking to the top, looking to the leader to make all the decisions. They're paralyzed either because of fear, or either because their lack of training, either because there's a lack of permission granted for them to lead from where they are. And as a result of that, nothing happens at that level.
Yeah. The most basic example, with another couple, meeting them for breakfast, we happened to run into them on vacation. The only tables were tables of 2. We asked if we could push the 2 tables together. The woman had to go ask permission to do it. Same thing happens the next day. Same woman. She says, hold on, I got to check with my manager again. I mean, come on. Anyway, number 4.
Number 4, which is the most really powerful one, is this. Your strategy is based on hope.
Hope is not a strategy.
Hope is not a strategy, Shep. And essentially, you're hoping that things will change. You're hoping that the competition will go away. You're hoping that the dynamics in the marketplace will adjust itself, but it doesn't happen. And so essentially, that strategy in itself is usually the last nail that usually sort of knocks out organizations that they don't have the strategic understanding of change and moving the organization forward.
Well, so sometimes the best way to become amazing is to know what it takes to not be amazing, which is the gift that you've given us today. 4 habits, if you will, of highly ineffective companies. Thanks for being in the studio. Benjamin Akande, you're the man. Thanks a million.
It's a pleasure.
Time now for this week's amazing app, brought to you by First Rule. And this app is disrupting the online learning industry by reducing friction for its customers and just by simply being more convenient. Masterclass offers online classes created for students at all skill levels and lets you learn from the very best without any limits. And these classes are taught from the world's most amazing instructors. Carlos Santana teaches the art and soul of playing guitar. You can learn how to shoot hoops like Steph Curry or how to play tennis like Serena Williams. Steve Martin even teaches a course on comedy. And there are dozens more, all taught by the world's most amazing minds. Masterclass provides you the convenience of completing your courses at your own pace once you sign up. Plus, the convenience to use on multiple devices. You can access Masterclass on a desktop computer, a tablet, and mobile devices, including Apple TV. The production quality of Masterclass videos is also amazing, with 2 to 5 hours of video content per class split up into individual lessons that you can watch and rewatch anytime. And another convenient thing about Masterclass is the subscription model. You can get an all-access pass to unlimited access to every class for just $180 a year. And again, you can complete the classes when you want at your own pace. In addition to learning from the most amazing people at their craft, this app follows all of the principles of being convenient for the customer. Masterclass is this week's amazing app. Your success is not just about changing your habits, it's about changing the way you think. This philosophy, implemented by Ben Newman, is a proven model for success from the boardroom to the locker room and beyond. Ben's mental toughness training tools have been used by some of the top teams and athletes in the world, and they can work for you too. Ben Newman now joins us in the studio to talk about mental toughness and the mental toughness playbook. How you doing, Ben?
Shep, great to see you. Always great to see you. Always great to see you.
So here's the deal. You know, Alabama football, Nick Saban, that's one of your most recent clients, and I understand you've just been re-signed for another year with them, but you've worked with Major League MLB, Major League Baseball, the NFL, the NBA, and you've worked with great corporate audiences as well. Let's talk about this concept that you have called standards over feelings, which is perfect for the concept of being amazing or going home.
I think it is perfect. It ties in because if you aren't amazing, you have to go home on the show, right? So I got to bring really good content, or you're going to get rid of me. I'm going to be gone. I'm going to be gone. Well, what I've found in the world of sports or business, and number one, I appreciate you mentioning the highlights, which is what people want to do, but I've been through so much tough stuff. I've been blessed to have mentors like you, coaches in my life, and it's always an iron sharpens iron opportunity. Whether I'm with a sports team or with a business, I get to learn as well. And what we found is that standard over feelings is about our opportunity to learn what makes you great every day. What actually makes you amazing? And sometimes, I'm sure you find this in your work, people don't slow down to pay attention to what makes them great. What is that standard, the process, the disciplines? And far too often we allow our feelings to dictate how we show up to do our work.
So we show up, maybe we're having a rough day, we had a rough night the night before we get in, and we're not thinking about what's in front of us, we're thinking about what just happened to us.
It's the positive and the negative, right? It was so tough yesterday. Why in the world would I want to go pick up that phone today and dial anybody related to business when I face that much negativity? I'll just focus on busy work rather than doing what it actually takes to be successful. But it's also the reverse. Sometimes you have the individuals, they were so successful yesterday, they say, I don't have to do the work today. Don't you see how great I was yesterday?
Big mistake.
I was amazing yesterday.
Big mistake. There's a reason. Practice is what it takes to get to where you are, and as soon as you get there, you can't stop. You know, and that's why athletes still have coaches like you coming in and talking to them over and over again to reemphasize the important points. You know, I think one of the most famous pictures in sports is Tiger Woods on the green at one of the major tournaments practicing putting, and who's standing there next to him? At the time, he was the #1 player in the world. His coach was helping him be a better putter. He was already the best putter in the world. Why does he need a coach? And I'm asking you, that's not a rhetorical question.
And every time I'm brought in, you know, why would Nick Saban, he's won all these championships, the greatest coach arguably to ever coach anything. Why would he bring in anybody from the outside to help? It's because he's always looking for opportunities to get better. He wants his players to have all the resources, right? So it's any of these championship teams, the work I've done at North Dakota State, or, you know, one of our local favorites in St. Louis, Tyron Woodley. Like, these are individuals who consistently
people don't
show
know who
up.
Tyron Woodley is.
So Tyron Woodley, UFC welterweight champion of the world, right? Just had a tough fight, but I'll tell you one thing about Tyron. He's going to come back because he doesn't allow his feelings to dictate how he shows up.
Yeah. He's a world champion.
He's a world champion.
Yep.
He'll get back. He'll get to the top again. And so that's the difference. It's those champions who, when they get knocked down, they figure out what it takes to get back up. And they're willing to accept the coaching.
And whether they're a champion on the field, in the ring, or in business, they've got to do certain things. So give us 2 or 3 good habits that we can pick up and use so we can go say, hey, I can do this right away.
Well, I think the first thing is to slow down and identify what is the single most important, if we choose business, what is the single most important daily discipline in your business? And everybody should be able to take a step back and say, okay, here, there's only one thing I had to do, and I had to show up and do it every single day. What is that one thing? So if you're in sales, how many times do you have to dial the phone a day? Because your voice...
You do that every day.
Every day.
That's
your voice in the marketplace is, I'm open for business, right?
Right.
And if you don't do that, you will not be amazing, and I promise you, you're going home with no sales. So you have to hammer those disciplines. But then I would encourage everybody, and nobody can see us, this is you and I, so nobody can see you in your home watching the show. Or how are you showing up right now in those disciplines? Because most of the time we know what we need to do, but on a scale of 1 to 10, how are you currently showing up? Are you a 6, a 7, an 8? And no matter what has been happening, don't allow your feelings to dictate what's in front of you. Continue to hammer that discipline one day at a time.
Yeah. Just earlier today, I was interviewed by somebody, and they said, what's like the number one habit that you have that think's most important? I said, it's waking up. But it's waking up right. It's getting there, being ready to get up, go do my workout, eat the right breakfast, and then I am really ready to go. When I show up to work, I'm not showing up just in time. I'm showing up ready to amaze. All right, one more quick habit.
Yep, so morning disciplines. For me, it's probably the single most important discipline that allows me to get done what I need to get done and to show up with the right peace of mind. What you just shared, you went quick, there's a routine. You know, if I do these things, I will be prepared when I walk into the office. And just quick math, the next level of most people's success, it's a math problem. Wake up 30 minutes earlier, times that by 5 days in a week, 2.5 hours a week, 4 weeks in a month is an extra 10 hours a month. That's an extra 12 days a year for you to be more efficient. And most people say, don't touch my mornings. Don't talk to me about my morning time.
12 days a year. What could you do with an extra 12 days?
Most people work 15, 16, 17 days, so you're almost creating a 13-month year. So you got to ask yourself, would you be more successful, more efficient? Would you be more amazing if you worked 13 months instead of 12? And most people are behind on their disciplines. They're saying they're going to work 12 months. You're actually showing up 9. So if you pay attention to the details, you'll typically find your edge. Hammer the edge, hammer the details, hammer the disciplines, and that's how you become amazing.
All right, Coach, put me in. Ben Newman, ladies and gentlemen.
Always great seeing you.
Thanks for being here. It's time now to hear from you and time to Ask Shep. Now, you can find me just about anywhere on social media, so feel free to ask me anything, and don't forget to use the hashtag AskShep. Let's begin. Katie Sandu owns a hair and beauty salon, and she asks, I overheard somebody say their experience at our salon was just fine. What are some of the things that we can do for our clients to differentiate ourselves from the competition? Well, that word fine is a bad word when it comes to customer service. Fine means average or just okay. So what does it take to be amazing? Just be a little bit better than average or a little bit better than fine in everything you do. You don't have to wow your customers every time, but you must always be a little above average, even if it's just a little. It must be consistent and predictable. It's an all of the time effort. When your customers describe you, you want them to use the word always followed by something positive. For example, they are always friendly, they're always knowledgeable, they're always helpful, and they always give me a great haircut. Being just a little above average doesn't sound like it's difficult, and it really isn't if you pay attention. The consistent and above average experience is what makes customers say they are amazing. Now we have Warren Smith, who recently opened a music and electronics store, and here's his question. I'm just starting up and trying to find the business's brand or story. Are there ways to engage my customers that will help define that brand? This is an interesting question, and Warren, without knowing it, has answered part of his own question. First, your brand is what you're known for. One of my favorite definitions of a brand is a promise delivered. It usually starts with the company wanting to be known for something, wanting the customer to recognize them for whatever it is they're promising their customers. Warren may want his store to be known for a huge selection of music and high-end electronics with the best experts who can answer any question and deliver amazing service. So he advertises and promises this experience. The question is, will the customer agree? Warren must ensure all of his employees understand the brand promise and act in such a way that delivers on that promise. They must constantly be reminded of it and trained to that promise. Then the big question is, does the customer agree that the promise is kept? It's actually the customer who will define the brand. He or she is the judge and the jury when it comes to determine whether Warren's store kept its promise. And when customers are in alignment with the brand promise and like what they experience, they come back and they tell others. And finally, Brandon Santangelo manages a local pizza parlor, and he says this: you've talked a lot about eliminating friction to create convenience, but what are some of the things that may seem like common practices to avoid that can cause friction for customers? Well, one of my favorite topics is convenience. Start by looking at all of the touch points your customers have when they do business with you. Are there any interactions that can potentially cause friction? It may not happen every time, but when it does, it creates an inconvenience for the customer. An example might be when the customer calls to place a to-go order and they're put on a long hold. When they come in to dine at the restaurant and have to wait in a long line. When a delivery driver goes out with the pizza without the ability to make change if the customer pays with cash. These are all examples of friction. While any of them may not seem like a really big deal, if the customer compares your restaurant to another that doesn't have these friction points, you're potentially going to lose business to your competition. Manage every interaction for a smooth and seamless experience. So, are you ready to be amazing? Connect with me on any one of our social channels, and don't forget to use the hashtag AskShep to ask your question and share your amazing story. Time now for this week's amazing quote, brought to you by First Rule, and it comes from Ritz-Carlton co-founder Horst Schulze, whose new book, Excellence Wins, is full of sage advice on how to create an amazing customer experience. You can define yourself as excellent if you create excellence no matter what your job is. It doesn't matter what type of business you're in. Schulze has the philosophy that there are certain universal truths that apply to every business. First, the product or service should be free of defects. In other words, whatever you sell should do what it's supposed to do without any issues. Second, do whatever you do in a timely manner. Customers don't like to wait. You own a restaurant and serve a delicious meal, but guests had to wait 45 minutes after they ordered to get that meal? Well, you failed them by tainting the experience. And third, customers expect you to treat them nice. They want respect and they deserve it. Don't be fooled by this common sense approach. The magic of the wisdom isn't in the words, but in the implementation of them. So here's some more common sense objectives from Schulze that aren't always so common. Keep the customer. Data shows it's less expensive to keep an existing customer than to find a new one. And that brings us to number 2. Get new customers. This is how a business grows. By the way, take care of the first objective, and word of mouth will help you bring in new customers. Next, encourage the customers to spend as much as possible, but without sabotaging number 1. The concept of upselling or cross-selling a customer to buy more is feared by many. My philosophy is that if you don't offer something that you know will enhance the customer's experience, even if it costs a little bit more, you're giving the customer bad customer service. And finally, keep working toward more and more efficiency. Schulze has always looked for ways to improve the process. Don't sit back on your heels. Always look for opportunities to do anything and everything you do better, especially if it results in something positive for the customer. While some of these ideas are simple, that doesn't mean they're easy. Depending on your size of the organization, it could take years to scale these throughout, which reminds me of an old saying. The best time to plant an oak tree was 30 years ago. The second best time is today. So there's no better time than today to implement the wisdom of Horst Schulze, because excellence always wins. Well, that wraps up this edition of Be Amazing or Go Home. Remember, you can find me out there on social media, and be sure to use the hashtag AskShep to ask your question and share your amazing story. Thanks for tuning in. This is Shep Hyken reminding you to always be amazing.